is Tuesday, kids.
Hey guys, welcome to Popped. I have
go.
so much good news for you.
Really?
Yes.
What's the good news?
The good news is that I'm Sarah, you are Keith, and we are joined by Travis.
Why, hello.
And it
Hi,
is
Travis.
Tuesday night. We are here for Popped. Chances are you are listening to us live on Facebook, which happens every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on facebook.com/popshow, where you can also find the latest in pop news and entertainment throughout the week. Give us a follow and 5 stars because we love you. Or you are downloading our amazing podcast on Podbean, Stitcher, iTunes, or Google Play. And we are very happy to have you.
Yeah, we are available in all those places.
Thank you so much for joining us. We are here pretty much every week.
More or less every Tuesday.
Yeah, more or less. To bring you the latest in pop culture news, talk to you about what you love and what you're interested in, and what we love and what we're interested in.
You got a lot of good stuff today.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I am interested in is this
Loaded.
amazing theme song by Fingers F1NG3RS from
Well
Richmond,
done.
Virginia.
You've been working on that, haven't you?
My hometown. Fingers, amazing Maniac Mansion theme. That is a talented guy right there.
Yeah, you should go follow him on Facebook too. The Popped page also follows him, and we'll occasionally share stuff from him.
You should.
He's got a lot of cool mixes.
We love local artists.
Local artists, local shops, anything local pop culture, we will try to cover. So if there's something you guys want us to talk about that is locally based, let us know, and we will talk to them, get them on the show. A few weeks ago, we had Narrow Video. We currently have our Kickstarter shelf over at Narrow Video going on right now for
That's
the
right.
whole
It
month
is
of April.
We're awesome.
So every week in the month of April, you will hear us talking about what is on our shelf. This week is mine. I have got all sorts of stuff. If you go to popshow.com, you can see that entire list of what they've got up there. Or, as mentioned previously, our Facebook page, facebook.com/popshow, has a picture of it because Sarah and I went there Sunday, became official members because we weren't before. We just rented videos, but now
Which
we are.
is shocking.
Shameful.
Yeah.
Shameful.
We
Taking
are,
too long.
yeah, but we are now official members, and to kind of kickstart us a little bit, no pun intended, we rented videos from Narrow this weekend.
Nice.
We rented John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd classic Neighbors, which when I say classic, no one's ever seen it. I haven't even seen it, and I love Belushi. And we also rented Monty Python Live at the Hollywood Bowl.
Which I will say, in the Narrow Video episode of Popped, I mentioned a Monty Python skit that I had seen as a young teenager, where a Christmas tree came on stage and dragged a Monty Python member off of the stage. And I walk into Narrow Video, and lo and behold, they knew exactly which DVD I needed to rent.
Yeah.
And it was totally correct, and we watched it last night.
And they had it available.
They had it available, and I checked it out. And I will say, Monty Python of the 70s, some of it holds up and some of it doesn't.
But, well, it holds up. Whether or not they could actually pull it off today, though,
Yeah.
That
is a whole other question.
That is fair. That is fair. Some of it could not.
Past the
Political correctness test,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah.
But you know what? And we'll kind of get into this later with our topic for the evening. I like that. I like comedy that pushes it. National Lampoon, we saw the Doug Kenny biography.
Yes.
Netflix movie probably 2 months ago now. But, we've got Monty Python. There's an 80s things that I might mention called Kids in the Hall that, I would also like to see returned. But, those guys always kind of pushed the comedic envelope, and even SNL in its early days.
Well, and even the 90s cast, too, when you had Farley, Spade, Carvey, and all those guys that ended up making movies for the next 10 years.
Right, and they really pushed that comedic boundary of making you uncomfortable but still being able to laugh at the absurdity of what they're pointing out is. So, I think that wasn't that a 2-volume set, the Live at the Hollywood Bowl
It
for the Monty
was.
Python?
We took the first DVD back, and the guys at Narrow Expanded Video were kind enough to say, if you do not see your Christmas tree dragging a Python member off the stage, we would be happy to exchange it for the next one, which is very gracious of them. But that is not what we're talking about tonight. We are talking about, well, it is sort of a little bit. We're talking about nostalgia and what should return and what shouldn't. But we will get into that later. First of all, I want to know what you are doing in pop culture. Keith.
I've just mentioned it. I'm continuing my Marvel marathon. So I just finished Age of Ultron, which, kind of it wasn't all that great when I watched it. It holds up okay, though.
Spader, though. Spader.
Spader's great. Even though the Sokovian accents were horrible, being able to see where Scarlet Witch started from and kind of building that character and vision, I'm excited to see what they're going to have for those two in Infinity War.
Sure.
Which I bought my ticket for Thursday, April 26th at 8 p.m. So, Travis, if you care to join me, I'm going to go see it at MacArthur.
I'll have to get on the early showing bandwagon for that one, I guess.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a Thursday thing. Because, it's nice, though, because movies usually come out at, Friday night at, midnight. Or, no, I guess Thursday night at midnight. Whatever, however you want to look at it. That Thursday to Friday midnight time frame. I used to be able to do that in college. I'm too old for that crap now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when you have a job you have to show up for in the morning, you're like, ugh.
Right, exactly. I don't want, and Dean, friend of the show, occasional co-host, always contributing to the popshow.com website. Him and one of my other buddies, Chandler, will usually go to the midnight stuff, and I'm like, and they invite me, and I'm like, I love you guys, but I need sleep. Yeah. I am a lazy mofo. I need sleep. I need at least 7 to 10 hours a night.
Yep. Yeah, but we were in line with all those children to go see Black Panther.
Yeah, but even that was an early viewing.
That was an early viewing.
So, I mean, it's nice. Now, granted, it kind of takes the whole kick out of the Friday release, but that Thursday night viewing is really nice. So, Thursday, April 26th at 8 p.m. At MacArthur. So, if you care to join me, Travis, and anyone else viewing in the Popped world cares to join me, you're more than welcome to, because Sarah won't be. She's got other commitments, so I'll be going stag.
You with your job.
Yeah. This is her hobbies and stuff, writing and all that jazz.
It really is the hobby that takes me up. So what have you been doing in pop culture this week, speaking of hobbies?
Oh, gosh. Ready Player One.
Nice.
Went and checked that out, actually, at an early showing.
Did you write a review somewhere on the website?
It's available at popshow.com.
Popshow.com.
It is on the main page. Went ahead and did that. Actually ended up seeing it again Friday, Saturday. Yeah, nice. Again. Okay. Saw it a second time. Second viewing is actually reasonably rewarding because there's so much going on in some of the scenes that there's just no way you're going to get it on the first pass.
There's apparently Ninja Turtle in there somewhere.
There's a few.
Okay.
Yep. You'll pick them out.
Okay. It's not the Michael Bay Turtles, is it?
The giant monstrosity turtles.
Sorry.
Where is it? Hold on.
What?
Hold on, I've got something in here for this. Yeah. I've got too many drops now. We've reached drop capacity.
Oh, no. All right, what else, Travis, while he's searching for his amazing soundbite that he still can't find?
No, I've got all the audio levels. Yeah. Oh, no, this is just going to blow everyone's ears out. Continue, Travis.
Yeah, anyway. So, started a rewatch of Californication, which is just a show I really, really love.
David Duchovny, right?
Yes.
The X-Files guy?
Yep. And I'm actually working my way through this latest season of X-Files as well.
Okay.
So that kind of dovetails nicely.
Wait, latest is in 2018 season of Duchovny?
Yeah, that's been ongoing over the last few months.
Not DuckTales.
It just ended a couple of weeks ago, I think.
X-Files.
Yes.
Not DuckTales. Different thing.
Yeah. We started up Atlanta too, season 2.
We did start up Atlanta.
Yeah. Well, and Legion comes back tonight.
Yep.
So I'm on top of that, and
Legion.
There's a lot going on.
I started season 1 of Legion, but I never finished it, so I need to really get back into that. I hope the FX app has it, because I need to finish up season 1.
I think Netflix actually has the first season right now.
Really?
I could be wrong. No, it's Amazon.
Amazon? Okay.
Amazon's got the first season.
I can make that work. Yep. You know what's great about Legion? It's a comic book movie. And you know who knows a lot about comic books? Greg from Local Heroes.
Greg from Local Heroes.
Do I know a lot about comic books, though?
I mean, you own a comic shop, so I'm just assuming you do know a lot about comics.
If you don't, Greg, we are all screwed.
It's okay.
I spend a lot of money on comics. I don't know a lot about them. I mean, there's pretty pictures and some words.
You do a great job, sir. I have no complaints.
I do a great job of spending money in your shop, yes. Yes, I do.
Absolutely. God bless you.
Without further ado, let's kick off.
Oh, yay! I might say it this time. Are you ready?
Is it because you've had a glass of wine?
Probably. Comes with Greg. Comes with Greg. Comes with Greg. Comes from 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 Greg. Speaking of other things I love, I joined the NPR Wine Club, which is making me much more willing to do these silly incantations. Not that anything...
You guys harmonize really well.
Thank you. We've been practicing in the off season.
Wov. What can you say?
Awesome, Greg. Well, what have we got going on this week, man? Is it a big week?
It is, actually. For some decent stuff. I had a hard time kind of picking what to talk about, but I think I got some good stuff.
Okay. Well, what do you got for us?
First up is Deathstroke, the newest issue of Deathstroke. And normally you'd be like, who cares? But it's actually the start of the Deathstroke Batman storyline. And I read the first issue tonight, and it was really fun. Slade and Bruce kind of one-on-one. It's going to run for a few issues to the Deathstroke comic. And if you like the idea of a Deathstroke Batman fight, then pick this comic up. If you're a Batman fan, pick this comic up. It was good.
Okay. Now, Deathstroke's getting a lot more, I guess, attention in the DC universe with the Arrow TV show over the past few years, and now the Justice League movie. He kind of had the end credit scene. Spoilers. I like the matchup because these guys are two guys in this universe with a bunch of people that have superpowers, and these guys don't really have superpowers. They're just really skilled fighters. So
yeah, it's a nice matchup. You're right. You're absolutely right. Insofar as they're both just kind of regular people, so it's fun to watch them go at it.
Good. How many issues is this crossover running?
I think it's not a crossover. It's just a storyline in the Deathstroke book. I think it's going to be probably 3 or 4 issues.
Okay, gotcha. So it'll be a nice little trade when it comes out then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Might have to check this one out then, because DC's really been putting out some solid stuff lately.
They have. They're killing it. But Marvel's actually starting to do some good comics again the last month or two. So
nice. Well, what does Marvel got coming out this week?
Speaking of Marvel, tomorrow, The Amazing Spider-Man is a big issue. Dan Slott, who's written Spider-Man forever, he's coming to the end of his run with Spider-Man 800. He's 2 issues away, and tomorrow is the debut of the Red Goblin, which is a crossover, or which is a kind of a mashup of Carnage and the Osborn Green Goblin character. So fans have been nuts about this appearance of this new villain, and it's in tomorrow's Spider-Man 798, and it's been really good. The lead up to 800 has been really good, and this issue is the one people have been waiting for. So tomorrow is the day.
Okay, cool. I'll have to check that one out as well. A lot of good stuff. All right, what's our final picks?
I'm personally stoked for 2 collections tomorrow for books that I really like. The first one being Paper Girls. If you haven't read Paper Girls, it's from the writer of Saga, Brian Vaughan. It's basically War of the Worlds meets Stand By Me. It's 4 teenage paper girls with like an alien invasion. It's a really good book, a little quirky, fun, and the 4th collection is out tomorrow.
Okay, nice. I've got collections 1 through 3. I've only read, to be honest, the first 2. I've got a lot. I'm a backlog here, but I've really enjoyed paper runs. Honestly, I enjoy anything Brian K. Vaughan has done. Saga, Deus, Ex Machina, Why the Last Man. He has got a lot of solid stuff, so you can't go wrong with Paper Girls.
No, he's my favorite writer, and he rarely disappoints. So the other book tomorrow I'm stoked for is Headlopper Image Collection. The first one has done really well in our store. People seem to love it. The second collection is out tomorrow. It's about kind of a Conan-esque character. It's got a very kind of indie comics vibe, but the art's really pretty. The story's really good. It's funny at times. It's violent at times. So if that sounds like something that would appeal to you, Headlopper Volume 2 is out tomorrow. Grab Volume 1. You will not be disappointed, I promise.
All right, Headlopper. All right, I'll check that one out.
Headlopper.
All right. Yeah.
I wonder what he does.
Quite the name. All right, well, where can they pick up all these fine comics, Greg?
Local Heroes is in Norfolk, Virginia, and it's a somewhat average comic store, and the people that work there are only mean on certain days. So 1905 Carney lived there.
Only when you harass them about Judge Dredd excessively.
Or if you want
I
them
love
to
Judge Dredd. God bless you, sir, because there's not many Dredd fans out there, but there needs to be more.
Well, and you can pick those up at Local Heroes. So
absolutely
awesome, Greg.
And I wanted to jump in and say I also love the Legion show because it's right up my alley as far as I love Noah Hawley, and I think he's brilliant. And if you didn't finish Legion, you should definitely finish it.
I will make sure to finish it. I will find whatever app it is on once I get done with this Marvel movie marathon that I've been doing, and I will jump on Legion next. So
awesome.
There's just so much stuff to watch, Greg. I don't have enough time, and then I've got to go to my job and work and crap. Oh, it's the
golden era of television.
It really is. We got a lot of good stuff. Awesome, Greg. Well, I will see you tomorrow, man.
Thank you, sir. I look forward to it.
Yes, sir. And we'll talk to you all next week.
Have a good week.
You too, man.
Bye, Greg.
Bye.
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 And it looks like Neil and Travis have joined in. So, Neil, ahoy hoy, and Walter, ahoy, hello, hoy. Sir.
I didn't get to say what I did in pop culture this week.
Yes.
Please. Can I tell you?
Yes.
Take the floor.
Okay. So I rewatched Monty Python at the Hollywood Bowl, which we mentioned earlier.
We did.
Narrow expanded video had the DVD, and they were awesome. They knew my obscure reference and handed me the disc.
Those guys would know their crap.
They really do know their crap, and we're so lucky to have them here in Norfolk, VA. So some skits hold up and some don't.
Yes.
But we discussed that a little bit. I got letters from two of my favorite YA and kids authors, Louis Sacker and Carolyn B. Cooney, who just came today.
Nice.
You guys might be familiar with Louis Sacker. He wrote Sideways Stories from Wayside School and a bunch of middle reader kid books that were just silly and fun and that were easy to consume for young readers. Carolyn B. Cooney wrote children's YA novels that were basically based around teenage girls.
Okay.
But she wrote some amazing stuff. When I found out that one of my favorite YA authors from childhood had died, I decided I was going to write all the rest of them and tell them how much I admired them. And those two got back to me, and it was a very big deal to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's very cool.
I also finished a bestseller novel called Woman in the Window, which is bound to be a miniseries soon. I mean, the last book I read was Little Fires Everywhere, which was actually picked up by Reese Witherspoon.
So was she like a mannequin, or was she for sale? Or
she was an agoraphobic
why was she in the window?
She was rear windowing. Are you familiar with that? So it's a classic movie where
You're talking about Jimmy Stewart?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He looks out the window and he sees a murder, and then he has to deal with that, but he won't leave his house.
The Simpsons made fun of it.
They did.
Bart had his busted leg.
The Simpsons made fun of everything.
Well, yeah. But Bart had his busted leg and then saw Flanders kill
all
Maude.
I can do is my Jimmy Stewart. That's all I can contribute to this conversation.
You sound like Don Knotts.
Yeah, why did I go Don Knotts?
You really did. I
went from Jimmy Stewart to Don Knotts.
You went full Don Knotts. You never go full Don Knotts. Jacob's joining us. Hi, Jacob. Anyway, so I watched Woman in the Window, which it was a little slow of a read, but it was a great story, and it's bound to be a mini-series soon, the way HBO is picking up things.
Nice.
HBO, Amazon.
To compete with Netflix.
Yeah, everybody's picking up stuff.
Oh, and speaking of the platform that shall not be named, I started on my shelf. Thank you. I started on my shelf for The Narrow, which Keith...
Well, Travis's is next week, and then yours got
Travis's is next week.
Yes.
And your picks are on popshow.com.
They are. There was a lot of internal deliberation, and I think I've actually got two on there that The Narrow didn't quite have. So I am probably going to be doing some donating.
I've sent the list over to him, to Whitney, because, Whitney, Patrick, and were on the show a few weeks ago, and we're in regular communication now with them since this is our month. And Whitney didn't, other than the TV series you suggested, which I think were Samurai Jack, Deadwood,
Batman Beyond.
And Batman Beyond.
Yep.
She was like, hey, can we just throw the first seasons up and then people can pick up the rest
Sure.
of the seasons? But she didn't say anything else about the other stuff that on your list. So
Okay, well,
we'll see what happens.
I know what happened when I called the good folks down there and said, hey, do you have this? And I had two. They were like, I've never even heard of that.
Just means you're going to have to pull the miles and buy it and then contribute it to the...
Well, yeah,
donate
exactly.
to the...
Consider it your contribution to the greater art scene of Hampton Roads.
Oh, it is. If even one more person sees Miami Connection, then I have done worldly good.
Well, I have put the Clerks animated series on my shelf,
Yep.
which
Who's
is the
driving?
third week.
Oh, no, Bear is driving.
Which is the third week. And then the fourth week will be you, the viewer.
Oh, no.
So I know once we figure out this whole Google Doodle thing, we will post a survey.
Yeah, well, if anybody's got a suggestion on how to handle like public polls, Facebook is crap. Google isn't all that great either, because what we want to try to do is create a poll that, you know, Alex or Juan, for example, you know, if Juan puts a suggestion up on this poll, we want other people to be able to view it.
Right.
Short of us having to monitor this poll every day.
Sure.
You know, for every few hours to say, okay, well, someone suggested this, so let's throw it up in the poll so people can vote on it, because we want people to vote on this stuff too.
Right. What I
So-
want to do is say avatar or other. And then when you enter your other, it shows up as a votable option.
Right, but we haven't found, like, even SurveyMonkey hasn't been able to do it.
Oddly enough, we
my
have not been able to make that
Fellow
happen.
sailor and internet luminary, Mr. Taylor Ducray there is saying straw poll. I've never heard of that.
All right, we'll give it a shot.
I don't know if that's an app or if he just means take a straw poll, but you know, whatever.
You know what we have?
we'll see.
We've done a few posts on Facebook.com/PopShow, and we have gotten plenty of lists, but we want to make sure everyone kind of has a chance to contribute to it. You know?
Oh, Taylor, like any woman answering to a sailor, I will try anything once.
Hold on, I've got something for this. Damn it. Why don't I have...
Language.
Okay, I'll take it. That makes sense. Again, things women say to sailors.
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger.
That's probably why.
He's a married man.
I mean, I'm just
How dare
saying.
you.
I know. How dare I? I'm assuming.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Came loaded for Bear tonight.
Yeah, he was.
Oh,
He was ready to go.
I am all ready to go.
So, did either of you search for?
Good day, sir.
So, did either of you search for Waldo on Google Maps?
I didn't know that was a thing until
That-
it was too late.
It was a thing. Yeah, it's totally a thing. I searched for Waldo, found him on all the maps, including the secret bonus map. It was fun. I had a little challenge trying to switch to satellite mode, but I did it because of Waldo. I had
Yeah,
to find
there was
him.
an April Fool's thing, because that was a few days ago.
Right.
And Google Maps had some sort of where you could find Waldo in certain locations, and they kind of pulled. It was very old school.
Yeah.
And you know, we grew up with these Waldo books and all that stuff.
Although
and
I will say the validation came when you clicked on something and it was like, yeah, you found it, or no, that looks like it, but it's not it. Because in the books that you get from the school library, it never told you it wasn't exactly it, but
Right.
it looked like it, and so
you had to remember where they were or mark in the book, so you were kind of humped in
Right.
that sense. So
right.
Juan says to poll him because he knows everything. So I will touch base with Juan this week and be like, "Hey, Juan, we need this shelf populated out." So we'll get with Juan. We'll get with Neil. We'll get.
Neil is suggesting Instagram story polls, and I'm like, way too fancy. We don't
have enough Instagram.
I have one that I think I've only ever posted 3 things
Well,
on.
Sarah and I have our own personal Instagrams, which we
Yeah.
keep populated plenty, but like we don't have a pop Instagram. And I think even that you still have to like list options, and people can kind of vote back and forth
Right.
on it on between 2 options.
We'd have to have followers on Instagram, and we don't have an Instagram account
No.
right now, so.
But
we've
you know
got
what you can do as far as followers go? Share the Facebook page. Just share it. Everybody's got. I mean, Travis, Sarah, and I, we all got friends, which is why you guys are here. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Facebook.com/popshow.
Yes. So, we've invited everybody who we know who loves pop culture, but now you guys need to invite your friends who love pop culture, because this is kind of our little hangout to talk about ridiculous crap.
And I need more people to argue about Star Trek with.
That's true. He does.
That's true.
Me and
yeah.
Dean agree way too much.
I'm sure Alex, who's a regular fan of the show,
Oh,
would
yeah.
love to argue with you.
He would.
So
He would like to argue with everybody about everything.
that's true. But, that's what
He didn't engage
that's the
with
point
me
of this page.
too heavy the other day when I jumped back in there
Really?
and was laying it down a little.
Okay.
Yeah. His buddy was awfully opinionated.
Do you know what else I did this week in pop culture?
What else did you do this week?
I watched The Incredibles for the first time. Well, no, I've seen it before, but with people who had not seen it before.
Oh.
And when I was first watching Firefly and Serenity for the first time, I received feedback from friends who were saying, I wish I was watching Firefly for the first time again.
It's such a good show.
And it's funny, the things that you experience viewing it the first time, especially Serenity, which has a few interesting little plot twists. And the joy that you get from seeing somebody experience it the first time, I felt that watching my best friend and her husband and her daughters experience The Incredibles for the first time. It was nice. It was uplifting.
Where's my super suit?
Exactly.
Where is my super suit?
I am the greatest good you are ever gonna get.
You tell me what my suit is, woman!
Yep.
We could pretty much just go back and forth on
could.
that whole scene.
All night.
Yep.
No kicks.
So, but Neil has chimed in. He said he loves Star Trek, so I'm sure he will jump in with the Slack group. You guys can have your own private conversation.
Yeah, I was going to say, me and Neil just need our own room in the
that is between you two. You guys
in the Slack group where we could just talk about all the stuff
and no
we
one would
apparently
judge you
both
for
love.
it. So, and apparently Greg at Local Heroes loves some Star Trek, according to Juan. So, you got two people right there ready to talk Star Trek with you.
I need Greg shamelessly promoting the Mirror Universe TNG comics that have been rolling out the last few months.
There have been a lot of
They have been fantastic.
There have been a lot of good, as Neil puts it, track comics. Track out,
Star Trek.
Yeah, there's a lot of track out. So, Star Trek Discovery has been kind of not necessarily a reboot or a remake, but a revisitation of the Star Trek franchise. It's expanding on it, if you will.
Yeah.
A prequel.
Sure, we'll go with that without getting too spoilery. There was an honest trailer today for Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, which was another, not necessarily reboot, not necessarily remake, but a revisit to a franchise that we knew in the 90s. So that's kind of the crux of our
whole
topic
thing tonight.
Yeah, that's our big topic for the evening is nostalgia. We all love it. We're all kind of 80s, early 90s kids, and we were trying to figure out what things, and Roseanne is another big one that just came back.
Right.
And it's come back like
in
gangbusters.
force.
Yeah, it's strong. I mean, they've great ratings. It's already gotten renewed for a second season. And so we decided to talk about nostalgia that we like, that should stay nostalgia,
right?
And stuff that we want. Maybe we do want to see it. When we don't, we would love to see original ideas. We would love to see, Breaking Bad or Dexter. A lot of new ideas come out of TV.
Yeah, but there are some concepts that just could use a revisit.
They could, because technology's changed. The way we film things have changed. Our comedic stylings have changed that would fit better. Maybe there were some shows that were ahead of their time,
right?
And now they would really kind of do well. There are some things that keep getting reinvented, because they haven't died in 34 years, a la Ninja Turtles. They keep getting reinvented, and there's a new show coming out for Ninja Turtles, and people hate that. There's a lot of haters on the design, but you know what? They've been around for 34 years, guys. Something's going to change with the Ninja Turtles. It's just a natural progression. Things evolve. Things change. They want to change it up. They want to look at it at a different angle, and this is just their way of doing it.
The only design there I didn't really care for was Splinter. Everything else I was like, whatever.
That Splinter is horrible.
That and making Raph the team leader, I'm like, no.
See, here's my... Okay, well, the Danny DeVito Splinter thing is a whole other story. We could do a whole topic on that one. But the Raph leader, I think it's going to evolve into Leo being the leader. So,
well, that makes sense. So I posted this very topic on my personal Facebook page.
Okay.
And a friend of mine who can't join at 8 says that she recommends a reboot of The Little Shop of Horrors, which you and I have discussed.
Yeah.
She says...
I do love me some Little Shop of Horrors.
Rebel Wilson as Audrey, which I find to be incredibly obnoxious, but that's her choice. Neil Patrick Harris as Seymour, which I can see.
Yeah.
Avi Kaplan, formerly the bass singer of Pentatonics, as the voice of Audrey 2, and Jack Black as
Jables.
Mr. What?
Sorry.
Okay.
Just nerding over here. Don't mind me.
As Mr. Mushnick. So that's her suggestion. I also had a friend say that Stargate needs to be revived. Babylon 5 should be rebooted. Firefly needs a prequel, but I feel like we should.
No, Firefly is doing really well in comics. You don't screw with that original cast. That's one of those things. And we tried to keep it, I guess, in our discussion, at least internally, we wanted to keep it into a what am I looking for? We wanted to keep it to like the 80s because the topic was based off of Ready Player One and the 80s nostalgia for that.
Sure.
So we are going to bleed a little bit.
He did point out that he thinks Star Trek needs a story centered on the Borg, which I have to admit was one of my favorite little spin-offs.
I'm okay with that.
So, I mean...
Well, I like Juan's suggestion. Juan just chimed in. Bucky O'Hare. Do you guys remember Bucky O'Hare?
Oh, yeah.
I remember the comics and the toys more than I remember any other facet of Bucky O'Hare. Like, I don't think I ever saw the cartoon.
I remember the
much.
cartoon and the theme song.
I remember the comics and I remember the toys. And I'm with Juan. Bucky O'Hare, like, it kind of slipped under my radar for show prep. I'm okay with Bucky O'Hare. Sure. I would like to see... But see, here's my question, Juan. Do they do it as a traditional 2D animated show? Do they do it as a CGI animated show? Do we get a full-length movie franchise? How do we redo Bucky O'Hare, and do it justice? And Juan agrees with you, best intro song ever. So it's one of the ones we can talk about for the evening. So
was there a bunny involved with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Hence the hair.
That would be Bucky O'Hare.
Yes.
Okay,
and his lady.
Let's
just double checking.
Let's pull up Bucky O'Hare for Sarah, at least on the internal computers here. So, did you guys come up with a list of stuff you guys would like to see, not see?
I did.
Okay.
And the first thing that I thought of was when I was a kid, SNCC and TGIF were big deals to me.
Yeah, they grouped those really well.
Yeah,
they marketed them as the group.
They grouped them really well. It was marketing, right? Yeah. But it was also like appointment television, which is not a thing anymore. Like, I totally admit that people do not say, oh, it's 8 o'clock on Tuesday, I need to be at home to watch Popped, which you should be, because it streams live every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on Facebook.com/Pop Show. Yeah. But appointment TV is not a thing that happens. That is why we're also in podcast form, so people can stream us when they want to.
Same with Netflix and
right.
Amazon.
I will say, though, I had entire sleepovers that based around SNCC.
We had family nights for TGIF.
Right, because I knew I would go over to my friend's house and watch Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Clarissa Explains It
All.
Or
Clarissa Explains It All, or whatever.
I loved all that.
I kind of love that. I also kind of, saying that, acknowledge that might just be a dead thing.
It is. And I
think love that the way I love, checking out magazines from the library.
A lot of these are dated premises that, would take, that it not just take a revamping. It might not work with a revamping just because the culture has changed.
Right.
Things that were popular in the 50s weren't popular in the 80s, and things that are popular now aren't going to be popular that were popular in the 80s. So, the culture changes. So there is a certain nostalgia, rosy eyeglass, tint that we're looking at these things with. Yeah. So, and that's why we're having this discussion.
Now, Neil points out that it would be tough to recreate that without it being totally awful, which is true. Because I will say that SNCC and TGIF took a very specific
formula.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They took this sort of sitcom that centered on teenage characters and were able to play to both kids in a way that adults approved of and address mature issues without being like after school special, and that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
Especially since appointment TV and even network viewing is fallen off. People expect to binge watch.
The very special episode is not a thing anymore.
Yeah, no, the very special episode is over.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't, none of us are kids, nor do we have any kids. I don't know if Saturday morning cartoons or after school cartoons are still a thing, because Kemp mentioned one that was, and now everyone's like offering new shows of how to spin all this stuff, which is great. This is a whole other direction. But Kemp mentioned Denver the Last Dinosaur, which I remember watching regularly. I don't remember if I'm pretty sure it was after school or maybe first thing in the morning. I don't remember which, because it wasn't a Saturday morning cartoon, at least when I remember watching it. But Denver was another fun, kind of concept that, and a lot of these are just concepts that could be revisited too. So I don't know if we need to have Good Burger. I don't know if we need to have Good Burger the College Years or Step by Step Tales from Cody's Vans, which Cody got his personal life. He was like a wife beater after the show, wasn't he?
Well, and he's in a. There's I was looking for new stuff for Bad Movie Night.
Okay.
A week or two ago, and there's a movie called Class of 1999. It's got Stacy Keach and Malcolm McDowell in it, and I have not been able to get my hands on it and watch it yet.
Have you checked the narrow?
Not yet. That's the next stop. But basically, schools have become prisons run by robots who are teachers, and if kids step out of line, they just kill the kid. They don't even waste their time. It's mental looking in the trailer.
Yeah.
But there's a sequel to that. As I was digging further into the rabbit hole, and he's the main guy. He's this person that they don't know is a robot. And
Cody.
It's he's the substitute. Yeah, Cody. And because I was looking, I was like, I know that guy. He lived in a van.
So here's the question, though.
River.
Even if, but here's the question, though. Even if, say, even if Netflix decided to figure out this magical formula and group them together, would that make a difference? I mean, these...
Here's the thing, and Neil brings it up a little bit, or was it, who one was it? Yeah, Neil brings up Man Meets World, it's a play on Boy Meets World, but they did Girl Meets World, where
it did
Corey
fairly
and
well, right?
But now it's done. I think they got 3 or 4 seasons in.
Yeah.
And I think Fuller House is currently on season 3, and it's been renewed for 4 or 5 seasons.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some of them work, some of them don't, and it's really just a crapshoot. I guess it might be the creative team behind it. It might be the formula, what really is going to make it work.
Or it might just be the viewing habits of people.
Yeah,
right.
Also true, because Girl Meets World, I think, was on Disney or ABC, one of that Disney affiliates.
Yeah. My little sister ate it up, so she was all over it.
And Fuller House is on Netflix when you can watch it whenever and however many times you want to watch it. It's on demand. So maybe that's why Fuller House might do a little bit better.
Yeah.
So
now, Neil points out that Adult Swim still loosely plays with block programming, which is true, but
so much of it is so bad now.
Well,
I mean, that's just from me, lover of C-Lab 2021.
I don't know. I was an Aqua Teen fan.
I loved Aqua Teen.
Yeah, Aqua Teen was my jam. But I mean,
Sarah got me into Aqua Teen when we were in college.
But see, in college there was no Netflix, and now I feel like if someone told me that there was the most amazing block of programming available on, okay, let's take the old Friends time slot on Thursday nights at 8 p.m.
Right.
Right. Thursday nights from 8 to 11, I could watch the most mind-blowing, culturally significant block of programming available on American TV. I would still not subscribe to cable.
Yeah.
True.
Well, cable is a dying thing, unfortunately. And Neil mentions Brack, from Space Coast, Coast to Coast.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, they were saying people wanted TV cable a la carte, and the cable companies, namely the big one,
cut that down,
was refusing because they made more money off bundling. Well, consumers forced a la carte television, and that's what we have by downloading 1,000 apps. Not 1,000, but at least
getting there. Trust me.
Yeah, but
ESPN was just announced today for $5.
ESPN, CBS All Access, which I am protesting, but I will get into that later. Netflix, Hulu, HBO,
Amazon.
Stars, Amazon. They all have different, and they're forcing these a la carte coverages.
And it's going to be just as expensive as cable at this point. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah, heck yeah, it's adding up. I'm going to start having to send my mother a bill.
Well, Juan mentions a few things. He says SWAT Cat should get a reboot, which I would all for, because that was also in that kind of TMNT era of let's get anthropomorphic animals and just throw them in a
sharks.
Throw them in a street sharks. Let's just throw them in a show and see what happens. But he also mentions reboot. That's actually getting kind of a revisit of that franchise, where I'm trying to figure out how to describe it, honestly. It's a live action show now where it's like Superhero Samurai Squad with Matthew Lawrence back in the 90s, if you guys remember that, where it would be the live action, but then they would jump into the Sentai footage like Power Rangers kind of thing. But this time they actually jump into for reboot, the remake, or revisit, however you want to look at it. I think it's Reboot Guardians There's been a trailer out for it.
And I was like, no.
Yeah, and apparently we're supposed to see some of the reboot characters that we saw from that original show in there eventually. But, it's a live action thing where they kind of transport themselves into the computer and they create this whole CGI world, very Tron-esque. So Reboot is actually getting a revisit.
Right.
So, but it's not the CGI cartoon that we grew up with, so...
Which I think is a huge missed opportunity now that the technology is legitimately caught up to the idea.
Oh, yeah. No, the technology is definitely caught up with the idea. And honestly, what I wouldn't mind seeing, Kemp actually chimed in. He asked if Wreck-It Ralph was a reboot remake. I don't think it is.
No.
I think they kind of played off the Fix-It Felix thing. Yeah. I think there was some history there, but I don't know if that was just really good marketing on their point.
I think that was just really good marketing because there was never
really a Fix-It Felix game, right?
Yeah, there's ROM hacks out there now where people have put it on NES cartridges and stuff like that, but it was entirely created for the movie, as I'm aware.
Yeah, because I think the Wreck-It Ralph was completely original. So, yeah, let's see here. I'm just kind of scrolling through.
It was kind of playing on the Donkey Kong Jr. thing.
Yeah. Let's see here. The game is one of the oldest. Yeah, see, it's just kind of it has a fictional beginning of 1982, but Fix-It Felix Jr. was made for Wreck-It Ralph, which I really can't wait for that sequel. I'm super excited for that.
Me too.
So,
what crossed my mind? What?
Oh, I was going to chime in real quick because Neil, just one more comment before you get going. Neil mentions Cowboys of Moo Mesa. Actually, I do, because the creators of Cowboy Moo Mesa, once that show ended back in the day, they kept it going in comic form by crossing over with the Ninja Turtles. I kid you not. There are no, it's not on the shelves behind me, but there were 3 issues of Tales of the TMNT Volume 2. Where they crossed over, and because the Turtles hop dimensions and timelines and stuff, and Cowboys of Moo Mesa was in there. So
they crossed over with Batman the Animated Series like a year ago. So
also true,
and that was actually pretty cool. I was surprised.
So was the regular Batman TMNT crossover too. So much that they've done a second storyline. But Sarah, you were saying.
So when I was thinking about nostalgic things that Coder should be rebooted, I thought of a lot of things that Coder should be if they were done well. It all comes down to good writing, but there are a couple things where I thought should absolutely not be revived.
Okay.
And 2 of them stood out in glaring, obvious, marquee to me.
Okay.
One of them was The Cosby Show, and the other one was Golden Girls. And the reason why neither of them could be rebooted or continued or sequeled or whatever is because The Cosby Show was centered around Bill Cosby, who is continued in his legal issues, which we won't get into, but it's terrible. And it's
There's
terrible.
Plenty of news out there on it.
There's plenty of news out there.
Go out and read it. We try to stay a
Google
positive
it.
show.
We stay positive. And the Golden Girls were such a artful and serendipitous ensemble, 3 of the 4 of which are dead. And I swear if we don't put a bubble around Betty White, there's going to be an issue because I'm scared of losing her every single day. That I just don't think that lightning could be struck twice with Golden Girls. Those, I think, should not be rebooted. Just don't even try it. It's not going to end well.
Your explanation for the Golden Girls is my reasoning for Firefly. Lightning in a bottle, you can't recreate the chemistry, the writing, just the creative aspect of that whole show. Yeah. I will agree with you about the Golden Girls and even the Cosby Show because of Cosby, for example, and what we have now found out about him. But I feel like the Cosby Show could still be done. The premise of the show could still be done and done well.
Okay.
It's a family sitcom
about
a well-to-do family.
The thing about the Cosby Show that made it so groundbreaking at the time was that it crossed cultural barriers.
It did.
With a well-to-do African-American family, high-achieving, family-centered, interacting with multiracial other families of a similar class and social stature that did not exist at the time.
I feel like you could still do that today.
You could still do that today, but it's not as uncommon and it's not as surprising which is a good
Yeah,
thing. It
because
shows,
you want it to be, you expect it to be the norm now at this point.
yeah, it's a norm now at this
Yeah.
point. And there's so many sitcoms and other TV shows that are out there that show powerful. I mean, not as many as there should be, arguably, because of the racial breakup of this, of our country. But there are a lot of families out there that normalize, Black success. Not as many as there should be. I'm not saying that they shouldn't keep.
Yeah, because
achieving.
saying like the Cosby Show shouldn't be revisited is like saying Family Matters shouldn't be revisited too, because that's another show that really did the family dynamic well.
Right.
Right.
And it's about, building up and normalizing successful minority families.
Well,
The family in general at this point, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
well,
Absolutely.
and my big one that I would say you don't go back, you don't touch it, you don't even try is Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Because there have been little whispers here or there of like, well, you could come back and you could show Will as a dad, like kind of as his
Didn't
movie
he
career.
retire? Like, didn't he make a big deal about Will Smith make a big deal about retiring?
Kind of, but he's in line for the next Suicide Squad movie, so whatever. I mean, but there have been little whispers here or there about like, well, his movie career's kind of on the wane right now. Maybe you could get him back for, like if you said, oh, well, Netflix will sign you up, you do 4 seasons and you're out, you're clear, you're done. And you could bring it back where he's he's in the Uncle Phil role.
Well,
or
Jeff
something
actually
like that. And, God.
Jeff responded right at the same time you started talking about that. Give the Fuller House treatment to Fresh Prince.
I'm not giving
starring
the-
Jaden and Willow.
I'm not giving the Fuller House treatment to anything.
Okay,
But
I will say.
Not a fan.
I think the Fresh Prince concept could be done well if they revisit it. Not necessarily bring back Will Smith or even have, Uncle Phil's dead, rest in peace, or even that whole family and those actors back. But I think if you take that dynamic of, Sarah was talking about the well-to-do family, I think if you and the cross cultures, I think if you clash those cultures together and have a show about it that still has a good heart at its core,
Sure.
I think you could do something like that.
Neil called it Stale Prince. Oh, not cool.
He's here all week, folks. Be
I
sure to
know.
tip your waitress.
Now there is something to I think that we do still have, especially with all the crazy political stuff, we do still have a need for minority family structures and success and non-traditional families in our environment.
But we do have some of that out there too. I don't know if you've seen Blackish or not.
Mm-hmm.
That's
doing
really
really
well.
well.
Very
Fresh Off the
good
Boat
show.
is another one that's a minority-centered family.
Yep.
That do really well. This Is Us has a multiracial family, non-traditional multiracial family that has great success.
Yeah.
Like arguably the African American character is the most stable of the 3 siblings in that situation. I mean, I'm not to say that like there's examples, like they're definitely not as taboo or surprising as they were in the 80s.
Sure.
I think there's still plenty of room for them.
Oh yeah. I think right now a show that would do really well is that Culture Clash, which is why I think so far, I mean, we're only 1 episode in. I think Roseanne is doing well because it is showing different viewpoints, different, cultures, different family dynamics, and that's why Modern Family does so well. Hell,
Sure.
They've got a lot of different family dynamics going on there, and it's how many seasons in is that show?
Yeah, it's been going on for a while.
This 10th season.
And they've got traditional, non-traditional. I mean, even now, what's considered traditional anymore these days?
Yeah,
to be fair.
Modern Family has gotten officially, in my opinion, to the straw grasping stage of, okay, these kids are obviously old enough to be out of the house and starting their own lives.
Oh yeah, well
Yeah.
Modern Family's like on season 12. I
Yeah,
was still tracking on Roseanne.
Oh, right. Well, Roseanne, though, I mean, that's sort of, I don't know. I can't even get into all the cultural politics that are coming into Roseanne, but Roseanne is a big reason behind this topic of nostalgia and what needs
And Ready Player One.
Right, and what needs rebooting because, Roseanne came out and it has this like huge audience and had this massively successful reboot, like historically successful. And, she had like the characters have these political identifications and social identifications and things that were kind of controversial and open for discussion. And I don't even want to get into that right now because I'll just write a blog about it on popshow.com. But,
It is a new month. You have something to write.
I
now.
do.
Yeah.
I know.
Will and Grace is another revival that has been kind of revisited, and people are still gravitating towards it.
Do you know what I want to see?
What?
I've thought a lot about this. I want to see Jumanji like Oregon Trail movie.
You know, Jumanji has really opened up the franchise now at this point.
Jumanji, did you see Welcome to the Jungle? Jumanji?
I never got around to it.
It
No.
You should.
It was delightful.
There is a reason it did so well at the theaters, and like because you figure the only reason. Okay, first the only reason we saw it was because of Movie Pass. Movie Pass isn't sponsoring the show, but if they want to, let us know.
Yeah, no, we're all about it. Movie Pass.
Give me a membership so I actually remember to sign up.
Knock knock. Movie Pass.
But Movie Pass has been great because we see these like Greatest Showman. We wouldn't have gone to see if we
Yeah, we wouldn't have paid for it if we had to pay $14.
That's another one I just
flipping
skipped right
expensive. Yeah. But it was, a lot of these movies we go and see because of Movie Pass, and it's enjoyable. It's, it's throwaway. And
we saw Black Panther twice because of Movie Pass.
Yep. I mean, we would have seen that once already, but we were able to go see it a second time because of Movie Pass. Anyways, the point is, we weren't going to go see Jumanji, but we had Movie Pass. So we're like, yeah, sure, screw it, why not? Let's have some fun. And you know what? And it was like, as someone who loved the original Jumanji, another mid-90s franchise, there was an honest trailer on it, and they really did get it. They were like, they took these actors that we're used to seeing, they twisted the stereotypes that they usually play, they respected the original franchise without like brown nosing it. Essentially, I was going to go elsewhere, but we're trying to keep family friendly here. Without trying to basically just copy it like Ghostbusters or Power Rangers did. They were actually able to take the franchise and expand on it and make it a hell of a fun movie.
It was delightful.
A lot of fun.
But I want to see them do that with Oregon Trail because Oregon Trail is such a nostalgic part. Like it's referenced all the time when talking about millennials and how we sort of came up.
Geico started using it in their commercials lately.
Right. So I think Oregon Trail, like we all have named our characters after like inanimate objects just so we could get a tombstone that said like the grass is dead from diphtheria or whatever.
Right.
So I think that Oregon Trail would speak to that nostalgia, but could also be like a way better plot device than, say, Rampage or something, because there's actual historical like toil that can come out of that, and that is I think it could be, if you get it in the hands of the correct writer, it could be a really good movie, but like fun.
Here's the thing, and I think this is what Jumanji has done well. There are other franchises that have done well. Hell, even Marvel's doing it now at this point. People are taking themselves too seriously in the film industry. They're like, I guess, and this probably isn't the tipping point, but this is probably the bigger tipping point is Batman Begins came out and everyone's like, oh my God, grounded is awesome. We want dark, we want grounded, we want realistic, and people are going to love it. And now they're trying to make all of these movies like super grounded, super like realistic. And like, if you go back and look at the things that are successful, it's the things that poke fun at themselves, the things that have fun with it. I'm trying to remember what we saw recently that was like, well, it's not that kind of show, or it's not. Oh, I saw Kingsman. The first one. I haven't seen the second one yet, but I saw the first one. They're like, and they kind of poke fun at the comic book trope, and they're like, they're saying in the movie, if this was a movie, I'd be giving you my monologue right now, but it's not that kind of movie. And they'd and they do something completely off script that you're not used to doing. And even Marvel's kind of going that way with Thor Ragnarok. They're breaking the mold a little bit, and they're just having fun with it. And they realize this stuff is based off comic books, or it's based off a video game. And I think this is why Rampage is going to fail. They tried to create too much of a serious plot behind it.
Sure.
If they just gave us humans that shapeshifted into
giant
gorillas,
creatures and smashed a city,
giant gorillas, giant lizards, giant wolves, I think we would have been fine with it. The fact that they think now that we need to have some sort of grounded, realistic movie. No, we don't. We're going to the movies to escape. We're doing a podcast because we want to escape. We just want to.
Is that why we do this?
I mean, do you want to talk about politics? I
No.
don't. Yeah, I don't want to talk. Do I want to talk about the condition of the world? No, I don't. This is why I escape into movies and TV shows and comics.
Right.
Hence this popped cave, if you will.
This incredible room of minutia.
I would rather spend 4 hours.
Popcave.com.
No, popshow.com, but close enough. This is why I spend 4 hours putting Legos together, because I don't want to deal with the real world.
Sure.
I like being able to say, okay, I've had enough of the real world today. I'm done. I want to have fun. I want to be able to escape into something ridiculous. It doesn't need to be real. And I think that's why Rampage is going to fail.
Well, so one of the things that I was going to say that I wanted to see come back is not a franchise.
Okay.
But I love Michael Bay as a filmmaker, generally speaking.
All right, I'll let you continue.
Transformers movies accepted.
You haven't
because
seen the
Turtles.
Well, okay, he didn't direct those. He only produced, but yes, his hands are on them.
Yeah.
I get that, and yeah, I'll even give you the Turtles movies.
Gigantic and CGI.
But
I didn't
like Armageddon, The Rock,
Yeah.
those kinds of movies, Con Air, just that insanity of here's a random high concept action movie. What's going on? Well, we've got this team of mercenaries who have decided to take over Alcatraz, and they're going to hold San Francisco hostage with 5 missiles with VX gas. Okay, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to send in a SEAL team with Michael Biehn, and Nicolas Cage is going to be the chemical guy who has to stop it. All right, go.
Yeah.
Just make me insane action movies with stupid premises that don't make a ton of functional sense. Bad Boys, fantastic example.
Taylor
Thank you, Mr. Ducray.
And that one's actually getting a TV series based off Gabriel Union's character.
Right. And like Face Off with Nicolas Cage and John Travolta.
Yeah.
That movie is absolutely insane. None of it particularly makes sense, but John Woo was clearly having fun just turning those two loose at their absolute campy best to just do crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. And we don't have any action movies like that come out like that anymore.
No.
It's superhero movies or John Wick. And I love John Wick.
John Wick's great. But actually, one of the 80s movies that I would like to see come back, Big Trouble in Little China.
Yes. Well, remaking John Carpenter movies is a bad idea. We've learned this.
Maybe, but
Halloween, The Thing, both of them.
Yeah, but I feel like Big Trouble in Little China is such a ridiculous movie that it would fit that formula really well. It doesn't need to be Kurt Russell. It doesn't need to be... And see, here's the problem, and this is part of the problem I get into with these franchises, is like, if you want to make a Karate Kid, this is my example. Right. Karate Kid. We mentioned Will Smith earlier, his son, Jaden Smith, take him or leave him as an actor, but Karate Kid with Jackie Chan was a decent movie.
Yeah.
It actually wasn't that bad. But the fact that they tried to make it like, oh, it's a new Karate Kid, that's where it lost me. Just let it be its own movie.
Yeah.
Call it,
Right. Call it literally anything else.
Kung Fu Child. I would have been okay with it. I would have watched it because it had Jackie Chan, and I would have enjoyed it, just like I enjoyed Jumanji.
Yeah.
I think we're losing Sarah.
I'm awake. 9 o'clock is generally my bedtime.
Yes, we know. So, all right, what else? Here, let's go down.
Okay, so I have a list of things that maybe could be revived.
I have a list as well. So, do we just kind of hit a few points?
Okay.
All right, hit us with a few.
Okay, so could be revived with the right casting, the right actor, and the right casting, the right actors, the right writing, very deliberately. But it could not be a reboot. It would have to be sort of a revival and very special. I thought that Taxi, Night Court, or Cheers.
I agree with the Cheers.
Could be, but they have to be very specific with the ensemble casting, and
I'm going to build on that.
Not try to be the original.
It needs to be something like a sitcom within a certain. It needs to have a location base.
Right.
Not everything has a location base.
When
they do these
but
sitcoms.
See, that's true with Taxi, Night Court, and Cheers. They have that one
Night
primary
Court, WKRP in Cincinnati.
Yeah, that could work too.
Cheers is another one. Any workplace comedy, I think, would do really well right now.
Yeah,
we've got a lot of different workplaces out there.
Well,
there's
the Office too. The Office and Community have been done for a couple years now.
Parks and Rec
and Parks and Rec has been done. Scrubs is done. So
no, I know
we need to have.
I miss it.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. I miss The Office. I miss Parks and Rec.
I miss Community. 6 seasons in a movie.
Right.
Yeah.
So we kind of need. There's a need for that workplace sort of drama. Now, Great News tried it. And I don't think...
Is it still going on?
I don't even know. I don't think it's gone very far.
I don't know, because they CBS tried to get into that a little bit with a Joel McHale show it was called The Great Indoors.
That lasted a season.
He had a nature magazine, and he was this well-known guy, and And the whole shtick of it, I saw the premiere, was just, oh, Joel McHale doesn't understand these damn millennials, and that was the whole plot. And it's like, Joel McHale just spent 6 seasons on Community.
You need better writing than that.
Yeah, and it really does. It does take more than just better casting.
Now, Taylor pointed out Empire, which is an excellent point, and Empire and
Empire comedy?
No,
Not
Empire
really.
was not. It was a drama.
Now
it's still going on. It's still ongoing.
Now, Spin City though, that's like 10 years old.
90s.
Yeah. So
Bing bong.
Oh. So yeah, that one's passed. But I mean, like, I think a good situational workplace comedy would be good. Empire doesn't count.
I wouldn't consider Empire. While a good show, I don't think it's a sitcom. I think you need a good workplace sitcom.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a drama.
What'd you have, Keith?
I mean, I had a few people type things where I said, we need someone like a John Hughes or a Jim Henson type character where it's a lot of heart, it's a lot of personal experiences.
Right.
And it's just, that core is there. There's no one really, I mean, you mentioned Michael Bay and his action movies. Totally acceptable. But we need someone like the Lampoon, the vacation movies. Right. The John Hughes universe with Breakfast Club and 16 Candles and Weird Science. And even the Henson stuff, even if you took the Muppets out of it, they still had a lot of heart at their core. Right. They were about, we went back earlier to the family stuff. You need to have that good family core, a good, hey, we're all going to look out for each other no matter how dysfunctional we are.
Well, that's kind of like why, I mean, you got to think about what movies have done really well. Thor Ragnarok did really well. Black Panther did really well. They have that sort of...
Jumanji did really well.
Yeah, they have that family tribe core that really matters.
Well, and something that I want to see come back, just because I've got an 11-year-old sister.
Okay.
And, like, movies made for her now are basically whatever Pixar's making, whatever Disney's making, and then kind of whatever the Disney Channel tosses out on a random weekend.
You are a toy!
You had that ready.
Yeah, I did for last week's bracket.
And the issue there is that there's nothing like the Goonies or any kind of, like, kids going out and doing things.
Yeah.
Movies out there, like, you don't have a Goonies or a Monster Squad or anything even in that, or even like a Home Alone, going back to John Hughes, where you've got kids who, they through whatever means find themselves in a situation and have to work it out for themselves, and they don't have that protection of adults, and
but the
kids are able to triumph, and like none of that really exists now in film, and I'd love to see.
Does
some
it
of
exist
that.
in the culture though?
Well, and
I don't know. I mean, none of us are
think,
kids anymore, so that
sure,
your sister's probably the closest we can get right now.
Right. Well, but that's kind of the problem too, is that the self-reliance bit just kind of seems to not be there.
Yeah.
Storytelling wise or other, outside of Stranger Things, which is directly mining that decade because it makes sense then.
Right. And Taylor even mentioned the kids in it, but it's still not really a kid's movie.
Sure, but I'm not. Yeah, I was going to say I'm not going to show my sister it.
Right.
Okay, so there have been examples of kid-driven shows that I think were we kids that would have resonated with us. Like, when we were kids, we had what? Like,
you want cartoons or TV shows?
TV shows, like Alex Mack and
Alf,
Clarissa, and things like that.
Yeah.
Pete and Pete.
Now, there are examples of those these days that exist on Nickelodeon and the other networks. I think are maybe not familiar with them.
And that's totally possible. And there are a lot of, I've seen a lot of, what is it, something Danger?
Oh yeah,
because I'll see commercials because I have been watching. Well, Sarah's been watching too. Muppet Babies, the reboot of that. It is a delightful show. It's still very much a kid's show, but there's a lot of fun little throwbacks to them for the Muppet fans. It's silly adventures, and they do it really well. It's animated fun. And the animation is really good. Like, Kermit actually looks like he's a felt puppet. It's insane.
Does look like they made him out of, like...
So check it out if you get the chance.
Yeah.
But, and DuckTales I still watch. And
the new DuckTales was pretty solid, but...
Other than the episodes out of order, but that's a whole other production issue we can get into in another episode.
Right.
But, because they did the same thing for Firefly. So, but I mean, there are other shows out there. I think there was a show called The Descendants, where the kids of
and I
the
saw
Disney
that
evil one.
Because of my little sister.
Right.
And it was awful.
But for them, though, that's their nostalgia
yes,
now at this
she
point.
ate it up, and I'll grant that.
If we went back and
like,
watched, some of the other shows, would they hold up as well?
And I'm not like I've gone back and watched some of Are You Afraid of the Dark? It's on, or at least for a time, it was up on Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
The first, I think, 2 seasons, and then rights issues kind of derailed the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. But yeah, they're very kid-centric stories that, as an adult, they don't translate, or you can see the super huge holes in the production budget for the time where you're like, wow, this is not at all what I remember as a kid's Twilight Zone kind of thing. But even there, you can kind of see what they were going for, and you're like, okay, cool. I feel like a lot of kids' entertainment now, especially like stuff like Teen Titans Go or whatever, for every one good thing we get, like a Gravity Falls or a Steven Universe, we get 5 Teen Titans Goes that are completely worthless.
But
they're dead weight.
Those are the kids that are getting the toys from their parents, man.
Right.
That's the thing.
But that was one of the other things I was going to say is like, I'd like to see more stuff come back because like I grew up when I've got a 7-year-old nephew. I was 7 when Batman the Animated Series came on TV, and that show and its subsequent films did not condescend to its audience. That your children, therefore we have to soften all of this. We have to do all these things. No, it was just made straightforward, and it was great, and it still stands up now.
It does. There's another show that's still going on that still holds up well. I mean, it's a younger audience than Batman and the Animated Series, but Sesame Street.
Sure.
It's very much, I'm not going to talk down to you. I'm not going to be shticky. I'm just going to tell you how it is.
Right.
Overall, it's going to be good fun. Occasionally, we'll hit on heavy topics like Boy Meets World did.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, and we've all, I mean, it was years before you and I would have been in the prime.
Yeah.
I'm awake.
Okay, just making sure.
It's years before you and I would have been in like the prime viewing audience for it, but I think almost every kid at some point or another runs across the episode of Sesame Street where Mr. Hooper's dead.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or
and
Big Bird gets bullied.
Yeah.
And it is like, I tell you, I've never wanted to beat up a bird. The other birds, not Big
Yeah,
Bird.
the little birds.
Yeah.
Neil says he's caught a little bit of Uncle Grandpa on Cartoon Network and enjoyed it a bit. I actually really love Phineas and Ferb. It's not on anymore.
Phineas and Ferb was great, and my little sister loved it.
And I think the shows that are created for the kids primarily, but have the stuff in the background for the adults, are those ones that are do really well.
And that's why I appreciated Gravity Falls. And the 2 seasons of that show are absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
And I got my little sister to sit down and watch that. And I was like, please just stop watching Teen Titans Go.
There's
anything else.
Well, their first Teen Titans was pretty good. There's even
original Teen Titans is fine. There's some legitimately good storytelling, writing,
and Young Justice too. Can't forget
Young
that
Justice
show.
is incredible, and I'm happy that's coming back.
That actually is coming back. And the narrow video, I'm assuming it's Patrick behind the wheel on that one, or it could be Whitney. I could be wrong. Is chiming in. What they're watching the episode where the count attempts the entirety of pi.
Oh,
now, does he go after every number? That's my question.
I don't know because
it would go on forever.
I feel like he would have to say all the numbers first and then go because you can't.
3.1415.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I feel like that's what you'd have to do for the count. I could be wrong though, so let us know. We kind of mentioned some of the Nick shows a little bit, but I think it probably won't work with the culture we have now. But I think a good game show like Double Dare, Guts, Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Guts.
I feel like any one of those where you're putting teenagers and preteens in harm's way would be a great show.
How did they always screw up the Shrine of the Silver Monkey? How hard is it to realize?
Those kids were the worst.
You had
on
to
bottom.
bash in the last piece.
Those kids were the worst.
Yeah, but there was kids that were like trying to put the head on the bottom. Like, monkeys don't go that way. No creature does. No creature goes head first.
Yeah, some of those kids, they were eating the Tide Pods of the 90s, apparently.
Yeah.
So, I also, let's see here. We mentioned Kids in the Hall, Monty Python earlier. Just some sort of type of comedy show that kind of broke the mold a little bit, kind of pushed taboo and, kind of took us out of our comfort zone, excuse me. This is going back a little bit, but with like Philip K. Philip K. What's his last name? I can draw a blank. His Electric Dreams, the Electric Dreams show.
Philip K. Dick.
There we go.
Yeah.
Electric Dreams, Ex Machina, the movie, a lot in the Westworld. Small Wonder.
Oh, yeah. No, I was actually going to very sarcastically drop that one in earlier.
Maid?
Yeah, the Robot Maid shot. I feel like that could be done really well right now.
You could.
Yeah, but that would take like a weird turn.
Right. I'd want to see that one on HBO.
Like a weird Westworld.
But I feel like
she just derails.
I feel like nowadays, though, with robots and AI being the next thing, I feel like that could be, if you revisit that concept, not reboot the whole thing, but take that concept of a super smart scientist. He lost his daughter in a car crash. I think that was the premise, right? Didn't he lose his daughter in a car crash or something like that? And I think there was a Keanu Reeves movie recently about that, where he like built robot versions of his family. I'm drawing a blank on it right now.
If it was Keanu Reeves, it was basically his family.
Right? Yeah, but
Keanu Reeves is a robot.
He just hangs out with Alex Winter in phone booths. What are you talking about?
Do you know what I want to see? I want to see enthusiastically rebooted Mama's Family.
Oh, that's a throwback.
I don't know if I could take the character of Mama, though. That's the problem.
That's the thing. It would have to be perfectly cast and very well written. But let me tell you, as a Southern daughter in Virginia, I want to see Mama's Family come back. Because I think that this is part of the reason why Roseanne is hitting such a niche audience, is there's a very large population of Americans who are being underserved in their entertainment. And I think the Southern, maybe slightly middle to working class, I think is underrepresented.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, I feel like, and I said this a few weeks ago the last time I was on, where, if Roseanne explodes, ABC is going to mine the back catalog. I can almost guarantee you we're going to see something like Home Improvement come back. None of those actors are doing anything right now.
But see, I think...
And Tim Allen, he's not going to get Last Man Standing back on the air.
I feel like that was the closest we got to a Home Improvement kind of revamp, so to speak.
But there is an audience for it. There's people who are still demanding for that show to find a home, and it won't, given the production costs at this point.
Yeah.
But now ABC's sitting there going, well, we got a Tim Allen who wants to work.
So the thing about Home Improvement was, at the time, everything felt like it was going to hell. Like Ellen DeGeneres was coming out on air, and
and it was kind of the rock solid.
Well, yeah, exactly. Show. It was that like beacon of morality and family values and whatever, in the middle of SNL going crazy and the Dana Carvey show being being off color and all those things.
You mean the Diet Mug Root Beer presents Dana Carvey show?
Right. And but Home Improvement was this like beacon of family values and morality. Like, if it couldn't be the Cleavers, it was the 90s version of it.
Well, it was coming off of the 80s and that whole cultural aspect.
But at this point, that has almost become like a caricature of itself.
It has, because nothing's like that anymore.
I think we've finally gotten to the point now in 2018, like we're closing in on the second or third decade in the 2000s, and we finally embrace that like the family structure is just not what we pretend it is.
Sure, but at the same time, let's be real here. What did you have in Home Improvement? You had this former tool salesman who had gone door to door and had made good, got a TV show out of it, had kind of made a name for himself nationally, going ha 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 ha, and making crazy, wacky tools and blowing stuff up all the time and hurting himself. That all still translates. It's an openly masculinely slanted show, where he's got 3 boys and then, the very put upon wife who has to deal with all of that.
Yeah, but...
And now, in a more politically correct climate, that show probably doesn't exist. But again, just like Roseanne, it serves an audience that's out there that maybe doesn't otherwise see themselves on TV.
But it's such a dated concept that I think that it's out of reach.
But see, here's
I tend to agree, but I think ABC's not going to care.
Well, hopefully ABC does the right thing and takes the right points away from Roseanne, because I think what Roseanne has done is they've taken that I don't want to say archaic or outdated, but like that timely concept of the family, that very 90s concept of the family that
the
we had.
working class, blue collar family.
Yeah, in the 80s and 90s that worked then, and realize, that core might still be there, but there's a lot going around that core now that wasn't there anymore. That isn't there anymore. Excuse me. We've got multiracial families, interracial marriages that were frowned upon decades ago, now commonplace. We have got, gender issues and societal and political things that are going to affect the family dynamic now. Back then, even in the 80s and 90s, even though it wasn't that long ago, we didn't want to talk about politics back then. Sure. And now, if you're not talking about politics, you're the weirdo,
Right.
And we've mentioned earlier, we try not to around here. But, I mean, this is the culture we live in now.
Well, but I think Home Improvement, too, like, kind of, it tried to reach out to some of that with, like, the youngest son kind of doing the goth thing in the last couple of years. And then, like, they... Like, even with Al, like, his mom died and his wife left him or whatever. And they had a lot of turmoil there in the very end of that show where they were still trying to, like, they were trying those things, but they didn't necessarily know how to execute them now. And if you revisit these characters now 20 years on, there's some things that they could mine. And I think, I just feel like ABC, looking at the most successful show they've probably ever had, or at least of that era.
In recent years,
they're going to want to look back at that and go, well, what can we do with it?
I don't think it's the characters you need to revisit. I think it's the concept that you can revisit and pull the ideas from that. I mean,
generally, I agree. I just feel like
and they probably will. No, I'm not saying you're. I agree with you. Patrick even brought up when they brought the Brady Bunch movie and they threw him in the 90s and kind of subverted that whole thing. It's basically that now, 20, 30 years later. So, it's all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else did I have on my list here?
Do you know what I think they should revive?
What's that?
Airplane.
I had that on my list, too. I also had Mork and Mindy on my list, too.
Because, so I can't even wrap my head around Mork and Mindy right now, but Airplane, I think, is one of those things that serves a slapstick audience that is just always going to be great. And right now we have that slapstick comedy being covered by ridiculous BS, like the whatever watered down chintzy version of National Lampoon we still have going on, and the Scary Movie franchise. So I think
is the Scary Movie franchise still a thing?
Yeah, they still do, like,
the last
teen movie or whatever. I don't know.
It's been a few years.
It's been a few years,
that crew has cranked anything out.
Right.
But.
So I think that slapstick genre is still. I mean, we were watching Monty Python the other day. There's obviously a need.
But
for
again,
it.
I would be curious to see how, for example, Travis's sister would take Monty Python. At 11, we loved it. But now looking back at it 20-some years later, it's nostalgia for us. And we're like, oh, this is campy fun.
Well, yeah, but I think that slapstick always... I mean, how old are the Three Stooges, for crying out loud? Slapstick is always going to be funny. It is objectively funny when someone gets hit in the head with a, anvil or something. Generally not
that's
violent.
True, because that's exactly why none of the Looney Tunes follow-ons like the reboots and stuff they've tried in the last 10 years have worked, because they ignore the slapstick and they try to go for like a more modern sensibility, and it's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Bugs Bunny should be constantly screwing with people.
Right. Now Patrick points out that
they take that away from him.
Right. Now Patrick points out that spoof movies have gotten dumber, but I think the concept of slapstick is what needs to drive it, and not the films they're making fun of, right? Like, so Scary Movie started out being, I mean, it's obviously slapstick comedy, but it's making fun of the teen horror movies that are out there, right?
Right.
What we need is original concept slapstick, like Airplane or Naked Gun or something like that.
Sure.
I think that could have a good revival.
So what I'm hearing is we basically need to revive Leslie Nielsen.
Oh, God bless his soul.
That's what I'm hearing out
Clone
of this.
him. It can be done.
No, there are actors out there who could do it and do it well.
I was going to say, I feel like a Chris Pratt or somebody like that who's naturally goofy as it is.
Yeah.
If you turned him
Danny
loose
Pudi.
in something that was smartly, basically the entire cast of Community.
Yeah.
If you turned them loose,
I would want somebody totally unknown though.
No, I'm just saying, like for
but
people
they're
we
out
know
there.
now.
Yeah, they're out there.
There are people, and in the late '90s, you had the Upright Citizens Brigade, which had their 3 seasons on Comedy Central following South Park, and now they've all kind of gone on. Obviously, Amy Poehler's been the most prolific of them, but she's also made sure that Matt Walsh and those other 2, Matthew Besser and I can never remember the 4th guy's name. I'm screwing it up. But they've all popped up variously, and they still do, all throughout her work and all of those people who have since gone on to make other shows.
Right.
The work is out there, but nobody wants to commit to slapstick, and it's unfortunate because
I think
it's
well,
great.
like
It's
Reno
universal.
911 kind of played with that a little
Yes.
bit. Like Reno 911 was improv and ridiculous and just dumb, but it got the laughs and it had a following, and you just sort of have to be okay with that. Like you can't. They're not always like you think of comedy and you think that you've got to have the appeal of Modern Family or The Office or something like that, where you're making millions of dollars. And sometimes success is just having a loyal following that just digs it.
Right.
Well, I think that's where, as I mentioned earlier, Kids in the Hall, SCTV.
Yes.
Even certain eras of SNL. Neil calls it trigger happy TV. I think, and heck, even the Dana Carvey show.
Right.
For its entire 6 episodes, which if you guys haven't watched Too Funny to Fail on Hulu.
Incredible.
Well, no, just watch Too Funny, the documentary on it. The documentary on it is hilarious because it even ties into Home Improvement, actually.
Right.
Because there was a commercial up there that was promoting, I guess, the next episode of Home Improvement where it was talking about like one of the kids having cancer or whatever. And then it was like, and then immediately as it, wraps up that commercial, it was like, followed by Home Improvement after the Diet Mug Root Beer Dana Carvey show.
Yeah.
And it was just so like, but you need that kind of slapstick comedy that is dumb, but it also kind of pushes as I said earlier, it pushes us out of our comfort zone and make us like, well, crap. Yeah, society really is like that. Or, hey, I really do that in my normal life. And that is kind of stupid.
Well, the 90s had a couple shows like that because you had the Dana Carvey show, and then over on Fox, you also had the Ben Stiller show that famously only lasted, I think, about 10 episodes, something like that, 8 or 9.
And then Mad
maybe.
TV as well over on
right.
Fox, too.
And Mad TV
lasted
farmed a ton of talent that, came in 3-4 years and then they were gone. Like, you didn't have the Daryl, what's his
Hammond?
name? Yeah, Daryl Hammond, who, stayed there for 15 years.
Right.
You just
I think
didn't have that.
I think Kenan Thompson's the longest.
Mad
running.
TV, though, had
on
so
SNL now,
much
yeah.
that just stuck in my brain. Like, I remember being a kid and staying up to watch Mad TV, and I did not do that for SNL.
Yeah, I did it for In Living Color.
Yeah.
Well, see, and that was a show that I was going to say I would love to see come back in some capacity. If Keenen Ivory Wayans is still out there and wants to start bringing young, diverse people together to be funny again, we could desperately use that kind of a show back where you've got, the manic talents of a Jim Carrey next to a young Damon Wayans,
right?
Next to all these guys creating characters and just going nuts.
I was looking on social media earlier today, and I believe, I don't have the exact date, but if you guys look up at the Funny Bone in Virginia Beach, Damon Wayans is actually coming back.
Well, it's his son. It's Damon Wayans Jr., yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
he's
thank
on
you for the correction.
Lethal Weapon right now.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, and that's another one that's came back, and I'm surprisingly doing really well.
Right, because the movies are so much... the first 2 are absolute classics, and then 3 and 4 are just kind of
silly, yeah.
We don't talk about those, but...
No, but Patrick mentioned Mr. Show, too. I think
that's got a spiritual successor though on Netflix.
It does.
With
Bob.
With Bob and
David.
Bob and David.
I watched it. It was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
So, do you know what I saw when I was doing some research that I wanted to exist again?
Slap bracelets.
Nope.
Skip it.
Nope.
Tiger handheld electronics.
You are well, that was probably closer.
I didn't have a Game Boy.
No, okay. So what I saw when I was reviewing like 80s and 90s movies that meant something to me. So this film I only ever saw when like the video, like the giant TV was pushed into the classroom on the cart, and you knew it was like a video day, and you
Bill
didn't
Nye
have
the Science Guy.
well, you didn't have to worry about your homework,
Weird,
right?
no, not Weird Science. What was
No,
the
it
Beekman's
was
World?
It was a movie. It was a movie, and it was
Okay.
Stand and Deliver. And and it was such like a. So it was like what your teacher showed you when she needed you to shut up for an hour and a half, and she needed to, I don't know, grade your papers or deal with her hangover or text. Well, there was no texting, but whatever it was.
Sure.
Write letters to her mother.
Right. So whatever it was. And then you had a movie day and everybody could sort of like take a nap or space out. But like Stand and Deliver was one of those iconic movies, and it was Edward James Olmos, and
Oh, yeah, where he's like the inner city teacher.
right. But like, so there was that, and there was
It's Dangerous Minds, but
Dangerous
without the
Minds.
cool soundtrack.
yeah, but they were like minority students and a teacher who, okay, so Michelle Pfeiffer is not a minority, but she is a woman, and Edward James Olmos is Hispanic, and they answer a minority calling, and they sort of demonstrate positivity and empowerment in a lower SES area, and I kind of want more of that.
Okay. Well, fair
can
enough.
dig
His movie, Stand and Deliver, was actually based on a real guy.
Oh no, of course, and they all are, and
And
there are many, many, many real life examples of that to this day. And now, actually, in the public school environment where teachers are even less funded and more threatened, that could actually be a more powerful real life film. And I think that is not a genre we should give up on.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
I would also.
It's always going to be a relevant story.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I'd also add Max Headroom to that list.
Sort of took a
Matt
different
Frewer. I love him.
Do
I think
you?
you might.
Yeah.
Well, right
I
up
mean,
your alley.
he was on Eureka.
Oh, yeah.
And in the first season, he was a key character, and then he asked them like, "Hey, can you please write me like way down in the show?" And they cut his episodes way back, and he was brilliant as Taggart in that show.
No, see, you're talking about Eureka, the sci-fi show.
Yes.
My mind went because I'm in this whole nostalgia thing. Do you remember Eureka's Castle?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That's where my mind went for a second. So yeah.
No. Max Headroom would be fantastic to see come back in some capacity. That could be really fun. But like going back to your Big Trouble in Little China thing, the big concern I have with that is that it seems like that kind of action comedy sort of thing is dead, and it's because 21 Jump Street killed it. Like 21 Jump Street took an already silly concept, made it a comedy, just played it for laughs, and that's fine, and that works brilliantly. But I feel like if they brought back Big Trouble in Little China, it would be done with that same like wink and a nod, always staring at the camera, letting you know that, hey, we're in on how stupid this all is.
Yeah.
And that would just drive me nuts because
I
that
can see
movie is
that.
perfect, pretty much the way it is. And that movie took a long time to grow on me because I remember seeing it as a kid and hating it.
Yeah.
I thought it was dumb.
I was the same way with That Thing You Do.
Yeah.
Hated it when I saw it in the theaters as a kid, and I was a stupid kid, obviously. So I've grown up to love it. I think basically what I'm hearing from everybody tuning in and the discussion here is basically as long as we've got the core concept of some of these shows, we don't necessarily need to revisit a lot of these things.
Right.
But I think if we took some of the core concepts and they really kind of focused on them, whether it's the family, whether it's the cultural clashes, whether it's the different types of
like empowerment of minorities and protected classes and lower SES statuses and, atypical genders, sexualities. I think all of those that made for quote unquote groundbreaking TV in the 80s, we still have ground to break.
I think you can, and I think you can do that without being political.
Yeah, totally.
Without alienating one side or the other, because that's the world we live in now.
It doesn't even matter. Well, when you get down to it, it doesn't even matter the politics. These things exist.
Yeah.
And these things exist in funny ways and dramatic ways and, sci-fi ways and things that make good stories that should be told.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, that's kind of why I didn't do the list as much, is because the more I thought about it, a lot of the things that I loved when I was a kid lined up as bigger ideas.
Well,
and that's why like I'd love to see mid-budget action movies come back with crazy conceits.
I think that's why John Wick has done so well.
Right.
Well, part of it too is that I'm a bit of a scholar of TV. So, I mean, I can, I'll look back on something like Roseanne and say, okay, my dad loved this show. We watched it because we were a blue collar family, but also it turned a corner in popular sitcoms for the following reasons.
Sure.
So I can appreciate the double-sided nature of it. And also and you and I were talking earlier off topic in our Slack room about the Big Bang Theory, and you just don't like it. And I just do like it. And I can appreciate that there is absolutely not a ton of substance there. It's just like, whatever. I like it, and I also like cotton candy. It's just sugar, and it takes my brain away from me being stuck on the treadmill.
Right. Well, and that was so when I wrote my review for Ready Player One, kind of coming full circle here.
Popshow.com.
Yeah. I actually had like a whole other paragraph in there with regard to kind of rebutting some of the stuff that I've seen in other reviews as far as dredging up stuff from the book that, oh, well, this character over here, Artemis, she's just a trophy for Wade to win at the end of the story, and she's this, she's that. And I'm like, well, the movie treats her differently, for one. So why are we now committing to this kind of revisionist history that, well, 5 years ago, this same person was screaming, you got to read this book. Oh my God, it's amazing. And now here we are 5 years later, post-Gamergate, and now somehow Ready Player One is, according to every think piece, a treatise on everything that's wrong with fandom. No, it isn't.
Yeah,
it's a
of other
piece.
Examples.
It's a piece of fluffy entertainment that, yes, has some narrative issues. I will grant that. It was never perfect to begin with, but to go after it in a movie review, and that's why I took that whole paragraph out, was because I was like, this isn't even the time and the place. This is nuts.
Yeah. Well,
why.
That's why I never did well in English class, because they're like, well, why were, like Wizard of Oz, for example, why were the shoes, ruby slippers? Well, they were an analogy for, this industry and blah, blah, blah. I was like, couldn't the author just liked ruby slippers?
They were originally crystal slippers, I think.
I thought they were lead or something. There was some sort of steel, or I don't remember. But there was some sort
of... I remember. I've seen them up at the Smithsonian, and it says on the little tag that, like, in the book they were this, but here they're this.
And it's like, why can't they just be this for the sake of being this? But anyways.
But yeah, I get you. Like,
just,
why does symbolism have to be in every inch of everything?
Right. Just take it for what it is.
Right.
Just have some fun with it. Escape for a little bit and use pop culture for what it is. Sometimes an artist's expression, sometimes just to have a stupid movie about people getting sucked into a video game.
They were silver.
Silver.
Oh, there you
okay,
go.
so I was close. Some metal.
Well, even there, like Mark Twain at the beginning of, I think it's Tom Sawyer.
Yeah.
His whole foreword to the book is, don't read this looking for symbolism. I just wrote a dumb story. Please enjoy it.
I haven't seen that.
For the love of God.
Yeah.
And of course, I think he's also kind of taking the piss there. But
authors say that when they...
He was a clever guy.
Authors say that when they know their book's going to end up in a classroom.
Well,
I want to have that self-assurance.
Neil chimes in and says, eventually we'll be due for a show that intentionally pushes the boundaries of our current political, social climate, where we need to be in safe spaces and that kind of thing. Sort of we need another Beavis and Butthead kind of show, which, okay with that. Taylor said they looked, and Taylor and Patrick both chimed in and said that they were ruby because they wanted to show off the Technicolor.
Sure.
But yeah, I knew in the book, I knew there was some sort of like metal industrial metaphor, some nonsense.
Yeah.
I'm like, can't that just be whatever for the sake of it?
Come on.
But yeah.
Jeff says, to quote Ron Swanson, that's why my favorite book is Moby Dick. No symbolism, just a good simple tale about a man hating on an animal.
Yeah, I think we've tried to get too complex. I think we just need to keep things positive, core family, whatever that type of family might be, clash some cultures where we can still learn and be positive, and call it a freaking day, man.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. Like, so Ready Player One is as a prime example. I have given copies of that book to no less than 10 to 15 people.
Mm-hmm.
because I loved it so much.
Yeah,
and
it's a great book.
And now I'm being told I'm wrong. But what's crazy is that some of those people that I gave that book to, like one of them, and her and I don't really talk anymore, but she was as ill-versed in any of this, that like literally everything in your room here, she would have no clue what half to 3/4 of this is at all.
Never smacked a woman before, but
yeah, she had never seen Ghostbusters. She'd never seen the Blues Brothers. She didn't know what a gremlin was. None of it. And I gave her a copy of that book to read, and she devoured it in 2 days and thought it was like the greatest. Like, she was just like, that was such a fun story. That was awesome. That was great. And I was like, see, us nerd folks, we're not so different from you, not so nerdy folks. And like there was a fantastic conversation that got to develop around that story being told. And it's like, if people would just enjoy things more for what they are.
And that's kind of why I like pop culture, to be perfectly honest.
Right.
No matter what our background is or what Facebook thinks our background is, you know, Travis and I could come from completely different backgrounds and still bond over Ready Player One or Ghostbusters. And, you know, Sarah and I could be, again, just different backgrounds.
Anne of Green Gables. You guys bonded over Anne of Green Gables, didn't you?
Yeah, it was. And Clueless.
So to learn and to get involved with what we are geeking out over, you can always join us, including reading Travis's in-depth analysis of Ready Player One on popshow.com. Yes, he likes to chatter. You can also join us on Popped Show on Facebook, facebook.com/popshow, which is also where you might be watching us live. Or you can download our podcast, leave us comments there. You can download us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or Podbean. And listen, this is what we're doing all day, every day. We, of course, have jobs, but what we'd rather do is talk with you about pop culture. So join us anytime on any of these platforms. Oh, on Twitter at Pop Show.
Yep. Sarah's running that right now as we do the show.
We need to, we need to talk to somebody. We're tired of each other. We want to talk to you.
Well, we know you guys have friends who can talk the depths of pop culture like any of the three of us can.
So share our articles, share our page, tell them about this podcast, and
tell me why I'm wrong about the things I review.
And we want to talk to all of you.
Come fight me.
We want to celebrate with you. We want to laugh with you. We want to argue with you. Join the conversation. So thank you so much for joining us, Travis. Always a pleasure.
Happy to do it.
Keith, as always. And
I bowed for those listening in podcast.
He did bow. The gentleman that he is. And we will see you next week or possibly the week after.
Some Tuesday. It'll be on a Tuesday.
It's always a Tuesday, whatever day it is.
Check the Facebook page.
We will chat with you about what is happening in pop culture. Yeah. I think that's all we got for tonight.
We got to talk next week because Lost in Space is tail end of next week.
Oh yeah, Lost in Space.
Oh yeah, and as always, check out Local Heroes and Narrow Video. The entire month of April, Narrow Video has mine, Travis's, Sarah's, and eventually your video picks. So keep it tuned, guys. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.